Here's looking at Euclid. So today we're going to discuss the first 7 definitions of the 23 definitions in book 1 of Euclid. And he starts with the definition of a point. So I thought the best way to illustrate that definition and the subsequent definitions of point, line, and plane is by looking at a solid, a 2x4, probably the easiest example. So if you look at a solid is made up of length, width, and what I call height. Sometimes that's called depth. Right? So length, width, and height will give you what's a solid. And obviously that's what we use to find the volume, right, of a solid. The length times the width times the height. So that's unique about a solid. Now, if you look at the extremities of a solid or the ends of a solid, right, it's made up of planes, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planes that make up the 2x4 or a plane surface. And the extremity of the plane surface are lines. And in this case, if you look at the surface of this 2x4, you've got length and width. So that's what's unique about a surface, right? It has both length and width, or sometimes it's called breadth. And then if you look at the extremity of a surface, which is the line itself, the ends of the line, that's where the 2 planes meet, of course. The end of the line are going to be what's called points. And that's actually the 3rd definition of Euclid. And he states that points are the extremity of a line, or the ends of a line, right, are the points. Now, what's interesting about that definition is that it gives some insight into what points are. But the first definition gives a statement of the essence of what a point is. So he defines a point as that which has no part. And that makes perfect sense, again, if you consider the solid. Because if you look at the solid, the solid, of course, has length, width, and height, and it can be broken into parts. You can cut it into parts. And then if you look at the plane, which is just made up of length and width, that also can be divided into parts. So both the solid and the plane are divisible. And then if you look at the extremity of the planes, which are lines, of course, right, your length and your width, that also can be divided into parts, right? And so you can bisect a line. That's going to be one of the propositions we're going to demonstrate later in Euclid in book 1. You can bisect any given line. So we know we can divide a line into parts. But when you get to the points, which are the extremity of the line, that's something now that can't be divided into parts. It's indivisible. And so it makes perfect sense that a point is that which has no part. Length have parts, planes have parts, solids have parts. Points don't have any parts. So it's defined in the negative, but it's the only way to define what a point is. Now, there is a positive outlook, I suppose, to a point, is that it has location, right? It's a designation. So, and we'll see that later, right, when we look at the Cartesian plane at some point. You'll see that points will have, it's a designation or it's a location on a Cartesian plane. That's the XY coordinate system. So that's the first definition, right? A point. A point is that which has no part. The second definition is a definition of a line. So the definition, as stated by Euclid, says that a line has its breadthless length. So it's a pure length without any breadth, which I think what he means there is width, right? So it's length without width. As soon as you add width, now you've got a surface. And that actually is the 4th definition. The 3rd definition we've already stated. The extremities of a line are points, just another insight into what points are. And then the 4th definition is the statement of that's a statement of a straight line. We'll get to a surface in just a minute. And that's interesting. So the 4th definition is the definition of a straight line. So now we know what a point is, we know what a line is, we know what another definition of points is the extremity of a line or points, so we know what that is. It's another insight into what points are. And the next definition, which is definition 4, is a statement of the essence of a straight line. Now, this is a great definition. You don't hear it at all, actually, in a modern geometry textbook. And it states this, that a straight line first is a line, but it's a line which lies evenly with the points on itself. So what does that mean? What does that mean to lie evenly with points on itself? Well, the idea is kind of a uniformity, right, to the line. I think the best way to illustrate that, and again, that's why I'm out in the barn, is by looking at maybe a longer 2x4. So here's our longer 2x4, right here. And if we take a look at the 2x4, and I think we've all had this experience, if you look down the 2x4, right, you do that in order to determine whether the 2x4 is a straight 2x4 or not, right? If you go to Home Depot and you're building something and you want straight 2x4s, that's what you do. You see carpenters and contractors doing it all the time. They're pulling off the 2x4s, they're throwing to the side the curved ones, and they're keeping the straight ones. I do it all the time as well. But what are they doing exactly? They're looking down the 2x4, and they're actually noticing that all the points that lie on the 2x4 on the line, right, are lying evenly with themselves. And so that's exactly what they're doing. They're applying Euclid's definition to determine whether the 2x4 is in fact straight. So it's a great definition. It's a statement of the very essence of what a straight line is. It's a line which lies evenly with the points on itself. So that's the fourth definition. It's a great definition. It's a statement of the very essence of what a straight line is. There is a property or a quality to those straight lines, and it's often used as a definition in modern geometry, which is to say that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And that's true, but that's not a statement of the essence, right? That follows from what a straight line is. Because once the points don't lie evenly anymore, you're following a longer distance, right? And so the straightest distance is a distance between 2 points where all the points lie evenly with themselves, and therefore you've got a straight line. So that's a great definition. The fifth definition is the definition of a surface. So I'm going to go back to my smaller 2x4 to illustrate that once again. And so if you look at the smaller 2x4, right, you can see this is the surface, right? And the surface has both length and width, or breadth. Length and width. So that's what's unique to a surface. Now, a plane surface, he goes on to define what a plane surface is. And a plane surface is the, that's the seventh definition, right? The sixth definition is actually the extremities of a surface are lines. And we discussed that earlier in this video. That's the sixth definition. And finally, the seventh definition is a plane surface. So a plane surface is a surface which lies evenly with the points on itself. So again, you could use the 2x4 example, where if you take your 2x4, not only are we looking down the 2x4 to see if it's straight, but if you look at, right, the surface of the 2x4, you may want to spin it and look at it this way. You also want that to be straight. And the one way to determine whether that's straight is to see if all the straight lines on the plane surface lie evenly with themselves. So that's the definition of a plane surface. It's a surface where the straight lines lie evenly with themselves along that surface. So those are the definitions. Those are the first 7 definitions. I hope that's helpful. I think Euclid does a great job in stating the very essence of what these things are. And they're elements of the science of geometry. So you do need to know what a point, line, and plane are, and what a surface is, and what a plane surface is, because figures are going to be made out of those things. So anyway, that's what we have for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Here's looking at Euclid. Again, if you could just subscribe, that would be great. We're going to discuss the next several definitions in the next video. Thank you.